Hello and thank you for watching. I'm Ashley Van Dyke with Advantage Software, and on today's video, Display Group Macro, I'm going to show you how you can quickly and easily modify your display, both permanently and temporarily, to meet your needs. The Display Group Macro is a group macro, which is a group of macros that allow you to use a single keystroke to call upon a large number of different actions. Using the display group macro allows you to choose from 6 different options using the single default keystroke, which is Control-Shift F12. Using this keystroke, you can then use options 1 through 6 on your keyboard to choose any of the macro options that you're presented with. The display group macro offers you a total of 6 options. First, the WYSIWYG preview. WYSIWYG stands for What You See is What You Get, and this will show you exactly what your document will look like when it prints. This will disable things like editing fonts and ensure that you can see your text boxes. Option number 2 for the default display will enable your default display settings and undo any temporary changes you've made. Option number 3 will toggle the print command option within the display tab. Once you've toggled this option, it will remain toggled on or off until you toggle it again, whether you do that using the display group macro or by manually going to your user settings. Options 4 and 5 both allow you to make changes to the whole of your display settings. However, option number 4 will make those changes temporarily, and option number 5 will make them permanently. Option number 6 will toggle the real-time tag along or the follow always option in the real-time tab of your user settings. Next, I'm going to show you how all of these options work. I'm in a document now within Eclipse, and if I go to my user settings under Edit, Macros, if I scroll down in the list of macros that are surrounded by curly braces, those indicate group macros, I can find the display group macro. And you see here that I have the same 6 options that we saw on the previous screen. Each of them starts with display : and that naming convention is what groups each of these macros together. The macro controller, or what you can press to execute the selected macro, follows the colon immediately. After that, you have the name of each individual macro. If I look at these macros, you see that they'll each perform a different series of options. And so this gives me the option to perform 6 different actions with a single keystroke. The keystroke is always assigned to the first group macro, and so if I choose Display 1 WYSIWYG Preview, you see that it has a standard speed key of Control-Shift F12. And if I look at the other macros, they don't have speed keys at all. And you don't want all of the macros in your group macro to have a speed key associated. Only one needs to, and only the first should. And so my speed key is Control-Shift F12. If I close out of my user settings and press Control-Shift F12, you see that I'm greeted with several different options. We'll go through each option in order. First is WYSIWYG Preview. WYSIWYG stands for What You See is What You Get, and when I choose option number 1 on my keyboard, I'll see what my document and all of my fonts will look like when I actually print my document. Right now I have an editing font enabled. And here you see that after selecting WYSIWYG Preview, I see my document as it'll look when it prints. This allows me to make sure that my fonts and margins are correct. If they aren't correct, I can make any necessary changes to make sure that everything lines up. And if I press Control-Shift F12, this time I can choose option number 2 to transition back to my regular default display, which uses my editing font. The next option when I press Control-Shift F12 is to show or hide print commands. If I choose number 3, my print commands turn on. If I scroll through my document, I see my footer print command, and I see a comment indicating that I should check the spelling of this word. I can press Control-Shift F12 once more and choose option number 3 to hide the print commands again. Next in the list is option number 4 for temporary display changes. In our previous video about display changes, we went over the difference between temporary and permanent display changes. And those differences will be exemplified when we make changes using these 2 options. So I'm going to choose option number 4 for a temporary display change. And in this window, you see that at the top, I do not have all of the normal options because this is a temporary window. In this window, I'm going to make 2 temporary changes. I'm going to check left margin, and I'm going to uncheck line numbers. I'll press OK. It'll ask me if I'd like to make these changes permanent, and since I used the temporary command, I'm going to choose no. And now my document looks exactly as I requested. And at this point, I can use Control-Shift-F12 and choose option number 2 to go back to my default display to undo those changes. And if I go to my user settings, to the display tab, you see that left margin is not checked, and line numbers is, just like my settings were originally. However, if I press Control-Shift-F12 and choose option number 5 for permanent display changes, you see that in this screen, all of the options at the top of the window are present, indicating that these are my real user settings that are permanently going to be changed when I do make these changes. In this window, I'm going to go ahead and check left margin again and uncheck line numbers and press OK. And you see that this time I was not asked if I wish to confirm that these were permanent changes, because changes made within the display tab are always considered permanent. And now if I do Control-Shift-F12 and choose option number 2 for default display, since those changes were permanent, they are not undone by choosing default display. I can go back to make permanent changes again, uncheck left margin, check line numbers, and those options will now be permanently saved again in my display settings since it was a permanent change. And again, if I choose option number 2 for default display, no changes made because those changes that I made were permanent. However, if I choose option number 4 for temporary display change, I can make the same changes and press OK. And again, I'm asked to confirm and I can press no. And I'm able to use the default display option to undo those changes immediately. And so it's important to note the difference between temporary and permanent display changes. The last option is for real-time tag-along, or the follow always option. Within the user settings, in the real-time tab, there is a follow always toggle. If you have this toggle checked, when you're doing real-time, Eclipse will show you what it's translating as it's translating, and your cursor will follow along at the bottom of your document as you're writing, to make sure that you're looking at exactly what you're writing. However, there may be times that you do not want follow always on, especially if you use real-time macros. And so this may be an option that you'd like to toggle. Right now, my follow always option is turned off. And so if I go to Control-Shift-F12, choose option number 6 for real-time tag along. Now, if I go to my user settings, to the real-time tab, follow always is checked. And again, if I do Control-Shift-F12 and choose option number 6 for real-time tag along, since, like the show or hide print commands, it is just a toggle in your user settings, it will simply uncheck it again. And so using Control-Shift-F12, you have a large number of options that you can use to control exactly how you see your document, and also to make sure that your final product is going to look the way that you expect it to, no matter which editing options that you use in order to make editing easier for you. I hope that you'll take advantage of this group macro. It really can be a time saver, helping you avoid going into your user settings manually. It saves you several steps and can almost automate several common display changes. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you'll take advantage of the display group macros. And as a reminder, Advantage Software offers anytime support 24/7. Tech support can be reached anytime, including weekends and holidays, at 772-288-3266. Email support is also available at support@eclipsecat.com. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you'll be notified when we publish new content every Tuesday and Thursday. Thank you so much and have a great day.